Welcome back. I'm Kim Bailey. She's Fulyana Osborne. This is Inside Exec. Today we've got a case study for you, and it's an interesting one in that before we started recording, we actually had a long conversation about the term we would use about the behaviour that the topic of this case study. So we've come up with unprofessional because it's actually going to cover, I will tell you the specific example, but we know that it covers a whole lot of other behaviours that would be classified as unprofessional in any environment. So the case study that came to me today is about the hospitality industry, is about a venue where there are a couple of people who are dedicated bar staff work behind the bar, and the rest of the staff work. It's a theatre restaurant, so the rest of the staff work on the floor doing customer service and wait staff as well. All get on really well, all very happy in their environment, love the work, love the place, all those sorts of things. We have one person who is on the floor staff and just a general hand, so helps out everywhere, who has observed that one of the bar staff, the dedicated bar staff, is drinking on the job during the shift continuously, just has the glass ready at the back of the bar and works on it and refills it during the shift. The question now is, how does he address that situation, given that they are both essentially working at the same level within the organisation? It's not two different sections and it's not two different managers. There is two owners and there's no other level of management in between. It's what we would consider unprofessional behaviour, and that it obviously is in terms of drinking, but it might be all sorts of other unprofessional behaviours as well.
It's tricky because you can't ignore it, firstly, which is the easy way out. That's not my problem. I'm not in charge here, and leave it. But the fact that you noticed it means that you care about the situation and the person, and it'll be good if you try to do something about it. So I guess is to approach the person but be very, very prepared when you approach them. It's got to be private and it's got to be respectful, obviously, and it's got to be in a caring way. Just say, look, I might be wrong here, but I've noticed, can I just have a quiet chat and make sure it is private, and might be wrong here, but I noticed this is happening, right? And then see the reaction, right? The reaction, be prepared, where I say be very prepared. It could be denial, mind your own business, who do you think you are? I don't know, you're imagining. It could be anything like that. Or it could be, oh, so what you're going to do about it? Report me. So be prepared to any reaction. Obviously, there is some root cause there somewhere. You're not a psychologist, you're just a concerned peer, and keep it that way. Just say, look, I just care. Are you okay? Is everything okay? I've noticed that, and I've got to say the only reason I'm raising it because I care and because I'm really worried about what could happen, because right now it's nothing, it's affecting nothing. So at the moment I haven't noticed anything that is, untoward or anything like that. But that concerns me from my experience. People that go on that track, sometimes goes wrong. I'm not saying it will for you, but because of that, I'm just here to say, is everything okay? And to me, I think that's a big step. It's hard for the person raising it and the person receiving it, but it at least registered. It registered that for the person who's drinking will start thinking, somebody noticed. If he noticed, somebody else noticed. I can't just pretend nobody knows. So that will trigger that first good step. And for the person who's raising it, the case study owner, that person then is done what they should do and have done, and then see how it unfolds.
I think that the opening phrase is the thing that you really have to think about, and it's about focusing on them, not about what you know. And so it's the lines of, are you okay? Is everything all right?
Yeah.
Just that genuine concern and nothing more. And certainly not. And can I absolutely warn people, do not start the conversation by saying, I haven't said anything to anyone else, but. Because that is a red rag. Almost certainly the other person is going to hear you saying, I'm threatening you, I'm going to tell someone else. And already they're on the defensive and they will not hear anything else that you say. And they won't believe any other genuine interest that you've got in the situation. So it's about that simple opening phrase. And if you say, is everything okay? And they say, yeah, no problem at all. Then you've got to step back and got to say, okay, well, I've tried. And maybe it's that every time you notice it, that sometime during that shift or whenever you say, you repeat it so that they understand that you've still got your eye on them, that you still know that there is something that they're not sharing it as yet. And maybe sometimes they don't know. Sometimes they haven't noticed. Sometimes it's just, I've had a bad morning, I've had a bad day, whatever else it is, I'll have a quick hit. And it's socially acceptable and all the things that are wrong with drinking in this country. And we can't address all of those issues, but we can individually make a difference for some people about how they're dealing with situations. So by saying, is everything okay? Are you okay? It's focusing on that one-to-one interaction, not a work interaction. I think that's the area that is of most concern in this particular situation. If we broaden it out to other unprofessional behaviours, it might be language. One of the things that we talked about before we started recording was that we were using the word inappropriate behaviour. And inappropriate at this point in time generally means to people that it's sexual harassment. And that might be the case. And there's a whole way of dealing with that is far more structured. But if we talk about unprofessional and we talk about language and we talk about being in a situation where you are in an enclosed group perhaps and not interacting with anyone other than your work colleagues, and when you get frustrated and you get irritated by situations, whether it's angry with yourself or angry with a bit of software that isn't working, and I know that I have that issue, and I work predominantly alone, and I'll confess that in the last fortnight I got so frustrated with a bit of software that I slammed a mouse down on the desk and broke it in half.
Oh, that's not like you.
Completely inappropriate behaviour, but unprofessional behaviour, very unprofessional behaviour. And all that meant was that I had to go out and I had to go to the expense of getting a new mouse. But, I thought, so there were consequences. But, I understand that situations can drive you to being what you would consider unprofessional, and that you have to recognise that those situations occur. That's in terms of your own management, but it's about how someone working alongside of you manages or deals with that situation.
This is a good example. So if you were in a wider group rather than on your own, that could be seen as aggression, and one off is one off. But it also could be the tone and the volume of the tone and the physical presence too. Sometimes when a person is maybe much taller and, looking down behind whatever, it might look more aggressive with the loud voice than the person is and realize they are. So that can be seen as unprofessional. The way to address that is very similar to what we said. Look, if it's one off, like you, Kim, if I saw you do that and say, oh gosh, what happened there? That's not like you, which I just said, right? And then you say, I've just had enough with this technology because I've been working on it for a week. Okay, well, whatever. In other cases, when they say the loud voice and coming across as intimidating or aggressive, but not meaning to, then that say, look, I don't know if you realize, and I'm sure you don't mean it, but you're coming across. So if you're, again, private, I just care about your reputation because I know you're better than that. And I don't want people to see you as what you're looking like rather than what you are. And again, I care about you. I'm here to help rather than judge or threaten.
there's also situations where people will exhibit that sort of unprofessional behaviour where they don't see anything wrong with it. Now, the example I'll give is that a person that we both worked with, although I was physically working closer with this fellow than Fulyana was, she was in offices sort of around the corner, we used to say, because the building was round, so it was just, everyone was around the corner. He was very professional in his phone manner when he was talking to people, but he obviously would get frustrated with people on the phone, and you couldn't tell it in his demeanour or his voice, but he would, because it was a physical handset, he would slam the phone down at the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
And in the end, I said to him, "Why do you do that?" He said, "Well, they don't know that I'm slamming the phone down. They don't hear it, and it helps me get over the situation." And so for me, there was nothing more I could say. I couldn't say to him, "Well, it's upsetting me because, I have to hear it. And if I'm on the phone to someone, they're going to hear you slamming down the phone and know that it's you that's slamming down the phone." But at that stage, I was much younger and I couldn't think of a way to address it that wasn't confrontational with him. In the greater scheme of things, it didn't really matter. If it made him feel better and made him manage himself better throughout the day, then that was a good solution. It just always struck me as interesting that he was the mild-mannered professional man, but when he got frustrated with someone, he didn't take it out on them.
Yeah.
He took it out on the phone.
Yeah.
And that was that physical release.
But you were you addressed it, but again, other people around you may have had a different view. If it start affecting them, then he had to think about, and I reckon he would have got that because he was thoughtful to the other end of the phone person. Yeah. So if he thought he's annoying or disturbing or stressing the people in the wings, he would do it. He'd find another way.
The other example I have is more about judging a situation visually and not getting it right. Now, my youngest son, when he was early teenage, so 12, 13, he was very much taller than anybody else around. Now, he's over 6 foot now. As teenage boys do, they would go out, half a dozen of them, and just hang around the shops and talk and just be out and about and pretending they were big men of the world. And on a number of occasions, so more than once, he was asked to move on by security in a shopping centre because they considered that he was exhibiting bullying and intimidating behaviour. And it was simply because he used to have to bend down to talk to other people, and they're, without them looking at the group or interacting with the group, they made a value judgment on what he was doing, on his behaviour based on physicality alone. So I think with any situation you have to investigate it a little bit further and think about what is making it unprofessional in that environment and how you can address it, particularly if it's peer-to-peer, how you address it on a personal level rather than a professional level. Now, if in the event that you feel part of the response indicates that you should take it further, that you should report it, what are the next steps then?
Well, I think I'm glad you went to that, because if it comes into a safety now, right, whether it is intimidation or safety because drinking on the job or anything, so to start that, you can't just let it go, right? I think you do your very, very best to talk to the person about, look, why don't you do something about it? There is things that the organisation got things to help. For example, you could maybe counselling, employee assistance program, whatever. I'm sure there's always something that can help. But encourage, support, and be the person there to encourage them to go and deal with it themselves, with management in this case, right? If it needed to take that next step. If they refuse in denial and tell you to mind your own business and you're still concerned about safety, don't stop there. Then just tell them, look, I really think it's so much better coming from you. I'm here to help you, not to report anything, but I'm really, really worried about safety, and tell them exactly how, what the safety bit is. And then say, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to have to do it. If you're not doing it, I'll have to do it. And then report it. Because if something goes wrong, and you've done everything right up till now, you wouldn't be comfortable with yourself. You know what I mean? That you didn't prevent something. It's not you're doing, but you needed to do something about it. And for the person themselves, you save them in that sense from getting to that point. And the person who's coming across as maybe a bully who's not a bully, you've got the record straight, right? And got them to see that they're given the wrong image about themselves when, could ruin their reputation.
Yeah. Just in terms of thinking about people getting the wrong image, when I was a teenager, my nickname was Stoneface because I did for a long time because I didn't show any reactions and I didn't interact with people. I wasn't a great talker in those days.
Yeah.
I'm still not socially. I'm not big on whole inept conversation. But it wasn't until I really felt like that was unfair that I addressed it to the group and said, I know that you all call me this when you're having the interactions, and I just want to make it clear that the reason I don't say anything is because in my mind I've got nothing to contribute, that you've all covered the conversation, or that I am so unused to sharing my emotions, which is a result of my upbringing, that I don't show emotions on my face. And a lot of the time in my work, it's better that I don't show an emotion on my face and just, clear the air that way.
So what you're saying is sometimes a situation like that give you the opportunity to set the record straight about it, or sometimes for people to see you differently, like you just said it, and then there's people start thinking differently other than, okay, you were called that, and then everybody just joins in and accept it. Nobody really look for the facts, right?
It makes them think about other, particularly nicknames. They think about other ways they've categorised people without thinking about it too much.
Yeah, and again, it depends how, I don't think anybody that knows me will be surprised about this example I'm going to give, but it was in a group, and I was in charge of this team, and I know that they called me the dragon behind my back. I find it amusing. And so
we call you that to your face.
But then there was one of the guys in the team who was very good at doing signs. So he was doing signs for people's desks and that. So I walked up to him and on the quiet, and I said to him, could you make me a sign, please? And he said, yeah. Can you just put dragon on it? And he nearly died because they did not know that I knew. He didn't know, and I said, oh, please, honestly. And I had a big smile on my face, and he could tell if I wasn't angry. And I did, and when I put it on, the reaction was unbelievable because people would walk past, oh, God, does she know it's me, that I said it, that I actually do call her that? And is she going to say something? But at the end of the day, all it did was they could see that I had a sense of humour. And that was it. That was the end of it. That name wasn't important anymore to anyone.
And it didn't change the way that you treated them or the way you managed them.
No, because, like, to me, these things don't really matter. But when I did it that way, but if I just went and who's calling me that, then I'm just proving they are right.
It's just confrontation.
And unnecessary. So again, sometimes finding, and I don't think they really were being mean. They just probably say she's pretty hard or whatever. Doesn't matter. And at the end of the day, again, owning it and doing something about it in a very good manner about it. You know?
Professional manner.
The
other thing I was trying to think of was, is there value in this base case study that we were talking about? Is there value in the person who has noticed the issue offering to go with the other person to talk to management about it?
Yes, I think
being the support person.
I think that would be helpful, because if the person agrees, they might feel that, oh, this person is on my side and he really, really cares and I'm helping. That might encourage them to do. Just definitely make the offer. Very good point.
And in terms of the management, then looking at that being an issue that's brought to them, is it better to have the support person there? So someone else from the team who is bringing the issue rather than the person with the problem going on their own.
I think if I was in the management of that group, I would see it as a positive, because I think these team members are looking out for each other.
Yeah.
It's not
us and them.
Yeah, there's none of that. If somebody's got an issue and this other person looked at, and it's my responsibility as a management to help them now.
Very good. All right. Well, we thank the listener who provided us with that case study. I won't name him because he doesn't wish that to be the case.
No.
But I think we have looked at unprofessional behaviour, and I think from what we've talked about, you can relate that to experiences that you might be having. But we will leave it there for now. I'm Kim Bailey. She's Fulyana Osborne, and this is Inside Exec.